Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of our F1 2021 My Driver Career Mode here on the channel. I hope you're all having a great day. Today we are headed to Portimao, a track that we added to the schedule last season and I never got to finish our first race there. So hopefully we can change that here today, fresh off of our first win of the season and our first win with McLaren Vodafone in Imola there, and that was our third win of our F1 career. So a solid start to the season. Of course we've had a DNF to start the season in Bahrain, but we back it up with a race victory, and unfortunately Ricardo, who was in position to win in Imola, ended up with a mechanical failure just like we had in Bahrain. But if it wasn't for that mechanical failure for Ricardo, we would have never been in position to win that GP, and Ricardo would have probably gone 2 for 2. He was lights out fast in Bahrain. Nobody had anything for him. Nobody had anything for him in Imola, and we'll see what the case is here today. Now, is hopefully we have the pace that we need to be a contender for the race victory, maybe at least a podium, of course, at the very least. Car overall felt really good here. I was pretty confident with the pace that we had in this McLaren Vodafone machine here. Now, as you can see, all the time deltas were in the positive, so we were looking pretty good here, at least in this opening practice session. But we got to go and carry that over into qualifying, and then we got to go and carry over that pace into the actual GP weekend here. Now, as last season, like I said, I didn't get the opportunity to finish this GP with Aston Martin due to the fact that we had a mechanical failure. I think this was the first mechanical failure we had last season, and that would lead to literally 3 consecutive DNFs there. 2 mechanical failures and then 1 with just a miserable Monaco GP, and we basically retired to save parts because we got taken out in turns 1 on the very first lap of that GP. So we're going into Monaco in the next episode, by the way. It's crazy how early Monaco is for this season here, race number 4. So I'm a little bit concerned about that one, especially after what happened last season, but hopefully we can go there and have a strong GP here. Now, is with only the 16 races on the schedule, we really can't afford many bad races, and we've already had one of those with the mechanical failure in Bahrain. Now, fortunately, with Ricardo's failure in Imola, it brought us back into this battle, but we're only 2 races in, so it's a little bit too early to look that far down the line, I think. But at the same time, you got to remember, well, it's a shorter season. We only have 14 GPs remaining, so this season is going to fly by here. Now, as we would cruise into Q2, actually on the medium compound tire, I wanted to save an extra set of softs if I needed it here, and in Q2 things went okay on the first lap, but it forced me at least into a second attempt right at the end of the session to make sure I could comfortably advance into this third qualifying session here. And sure enough, we would back up this first run with about 3.5 tenths better, and that would put us in P4 for the time being, but we would actually only be the last driver to advance into Q3. So that was a little bit concerning, seeing my time there in Q2, especially on that fresh set of softs. So we come through though into Q3 and hoping that we can better our lap from Q2 just by enough and hopefully be at least in towards, I would say, the top 5. 5th or better is what we kind of aim for, I feel like, here with this McLaren Vodafone team. And we come through out of the final turn here, 8 minutes left in this third and final session. We go P6, so this puts us in a position to get ready for our final lap here of the session. And it wasn't a great lap. I did have a bit of a slip up on my first lap, so I already knew I would have to make a second attempt. And with these final couple of moments underway here in Q3, we had found over half a second here compared to our first lap. 6 tenths, nearly 7 tenths of a second. It wasn't going to be enough for pole position, but still you can see the time going in the right direction. It does go down a little bit here in these final few corners, but nonetheless still 6.5 tenths better than our first lap. We come through down the front straightaway. We're going to cross the line and go P3 for the time being, and we would lose a few more positions and drop down into P5 as Max Verstappen for Red Bull Racing qualifies on pole here for the Portimao in Portuguese GP here. Now, as you see, Ricardo and Norris round out the top 3, Vettel and Giovinazzi round out the top 10. Bottas never even made the top 10. But let's head to the grid here for the Portuguese GP in Portimao.
The Formula One circus has made its way to the southern coast of Portugal this week, and it's preparing for what I expect to be a terrific race here in Portimao. So Portimao features 15 turns over the course of its 2.9-mile length. 9 are right-handers, 6 are to the left. And this is a track with a lot of uphill action, which only accentuates the importance of getting those exits right, especially at turn 4, where a good line can present opportunities to pass on the way into turn 5. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, You're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1, so how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are three main things to worry about there, Crofty: positioning, awareness, and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he starts from pole position, with Daniel Ricciardo slotting in alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Norris, Tsunoda, the Golden Boy, and Gasly, Leclerc, Hamilton, Vettel and Valtteri Bottas, Sainz, Russell, Esteban Ocon and Joe, Lundgaard, Eilert, Nicholas Latifi and Mick Schumacher, Stroll and Antonio Giovinazzi starts from the back of the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Ready to go, lights out here in Portimao. Now, one of my favorite tracks on the schedule, definitely a top 5 track to drive for me here with the elevation changes and then just these technical corners that we have here. There's a lot of technical corners that I really like here as we would get ready to grid up and go green here. Now, our starts, we are well known for having bad starts here in F1 career mode, and we expect that here once again today. Now, as Verstappen and Ricciardo, they are going to lead the field to the green here, lights out with Norris and then Tsunoda, myself, and Gasly. So right now it's Red Bull versus McLaren, but then the AlphaTauri is added in as well, as it's 5 red lights and it's lights out, and we are underway here in the Portuguese GP, and it's a great start for Daniel Ricciardo. Verstappen caught sleeping a little bit there. The Dutchman's going to drop down into second place. Ricciardo to the point, and then you see there in the background, I unfortunately lose the position, and then you can see a little bit of scrapping right there between Charles Leclerc as well as the Mercedes of Bottas as well as Lewis Hamilton. Like I said, Bottas started outside of the top 10. He's putting the pressure on the back of that Santander Ferrari right now as we head down into this heavy braking hairpin and downhill braking corner. There's a winglet. I saw a winglet go flying. It looked like that came off of the Alpine, I believe, of Esteban Ocon, so I would expect to see him in the pit lane immediately here at the conclusion of this first and opening lap. Not what you want to see for the Alpine driver there. You see Antonio Giovinazzi here towards the back there had a grid penalty, so now what he wanted to be in a position now where he's going to have to ride behind these slower cars, especially with Ocon there right at the front of this group. And here's an onboard look here at Esteban, who drives straight into the back of Carlos Sainz right there. Just a misjudgment on his part, and he would of course find himself replacing his front wing at the conclusion of this first and opening lap. Ricciardo comfortably already out in front over the Red Bull of Max Verstappen, Yuki Tsunoda in third, Lando Norris, Pierre Gasly, then myself chasing these guys down here now. As like I said, it's right now it's like McLaren versus Red Bull and AlphaTauri here. AlphaTauri stepped it up towards the end of last season, and they have brought the heat so far early on this season as well, and we're seeing that again here today in the Portuguese GP. They weren't much of a threat in Imola, but they definitely had some pace in Bahrain, and you can see they're showing it today, because not only are they competing with myself here with McLaren, but they're putting the fight to that sister Red Bull team as well, who's, well, we all know is supposed to be better than that AlphaTauri team, but they are really bringing the heat to them with that Gasly and Tsunoda duo who've really stepped it up.
Okay, there appears to be an issue. We're currently investigating.
I swear, if we retire from another Portimao GP and retire in 2 of the first 3 GPs, I am not going to be happy there. 9 times out of 10 when we hear that message, we know it's bad news on the way. Let's really hope for the best right here in Portimao now in the Portuguese GP.
We can confirm that it's an issue with our engine. The issue seems to be fixed, but we will keep monitoring it our end.
Well, there you heard it. So that was really quick, and thank goodness we're going to continue here in Portimao. Jeff, you know, made my heart race a little bit there for a moment now as I thought we were in trouble, but you can see right here, I was able to stick still with Gasly and Norris and whatnot. Actually, as that's happening, though, you can see in the background Sebastian Vettel, he's off the pace. He's going to have a mechanical failure, taking the 4-time world champion out in Portimao. A miserable start to the season for Vettel, who's picked up moments where he's gotten damage in the opening laps in Bahrain, so that set him back. In Imola, he lost his front wing on the first lap, and then here he is retiring due to a mechanical failure in typical Aston Martin fashion. I know that pain that Vettel is going through, but wow, that's just a miserable start for the 4-time world champion here. Daniel Ricciardo, he comes into the pit lane at the conclusion of lap 10. He's going to bring Pierre Gasly with him as well. I'm going to stay out a little bit longer. So we had actually switched onto a one-stop strategy. So Ricciardo's still doing a two-stopper. I believe Gasly would, of course, be in a position to do a two-stopper as well. But I'm just going to do a one-stop. We're going to put on that hard compound tire and see if we can maybe find a way to get past these drivers that we're struggling to get past. So here as we come through to lap 13, Verstappen's in. We would take the lead for the time being, but we, of course, are coming into the pit lane here very shortly there. As you see, Ricciardo, he's already through into second place. He would easily breeze past Max Verstappen right there, who really has no fight for him. I don't think anybody has a fight for Ricciardo here today. Now, as you're going to see Verstappen and Russell side by side into turn 1, contact actually, and Verstappen is going to go around in turn 1. A lot of cars coming his direction here, very close quarters right there. Here comes Lewis Hamilton as well. It's going to be very close. Verstappen throws it in reverse, gets it out of the way. Oh my goodness, that nearly turned into a big accident there. As you see the onboard, Verstappen just kind of washed up into the wheels right there of the Alpine of George Russell, and around he went, and look how close it got right here for the 7-time world champion of Lewis Hamilton. Oh my goodness, we're talking centimeters right there. But at the conclusion of lap 13, I come into the pit lane for my first and only pit stop here, and Verstappen had a nice strategy right there. He was going to be on the one stopper and maybe had something for Ricciardo, but obviously now that's all thrown out the window as we put in our hard compound, and that will be our only stop of the day here in Portimao now, as this should give us a good opportunity to maybe compete for the podium finally. Now obviously we're not going to be competitive for the win. You can see Ricciardo on the track map. He is already long gone, just about half a track away, so it was game over there. Ricciardo has been unbelievably fast so far to start this season, and that's concerning, of course, for myself, who doesn't quite have that pace that Ricciardo has here now, as how are we going to win a championship if we can't compete with that? Now, of course, we're still learning the McLaren, so, you know, give it a little bit more time. Hopefully we get more comfortable in this car and we can compete against Daniel there for the world title now, or you never know, McLaren might just fall off here now, as we, once again, though, we're hanging with Tsunoda, hanging with Norris, as well as Pierre Gasly here, but we're having a tough time passing them behind us, though. Now, one of the cars a lap down, that was actually Guan Yu Zhou in the brand new Audi team, had a mechanical failure. He's going to pull off the circuit, and he is going to join Sebastian Vettel in the paddock there. Audi, and especially Guan Yu Zhou, has had a miserable start to this season as well. A lot of mechanical issues and spins and whatnot, and just self-inflicted accidents from Guan Yu Zhou so far to begin this season here. Now, as you can see, a quick through the grid, Gasly in second, Norris in third, Tsunoda fourth, myself here in fifth, trailing just behind, but we're getting closer and closer to Yuki Tsunoda. We might actually finally have enough pace in this car on this second run to make some passes there. You see Lewis Hamilton all by himself in 6th place. Charles Leclerc, he's all by himself in the 7th position. Overall, a very calm GP. We haven't even had a safety car so far this season, which is pretty crazy to think. Usually by 3 GPs, then we've had 2 or 3 safety cars, but not the case this time around. But at the conclusion of lap 20, blue flags for Lance Stroll, and here I am right on the gearbox of Tsunoda. I'm going to pull over to the right-hand side, and we're going to be wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side into turn 1 there. Maybe no love lost considering what happened between us two in Jeddah. Surprisingly, no cutting warning right there when I went off the track, but fortunately we complete the pass on Tsunoda. He would actually come into the pit lane shortly after for his second and final pit stop, and now we were running down Lando Norris for the second position because Pierre Gasly as well had come into the pit lane as we completed that pass actually on Yuki Tsunoda. Now very close to the back of Lando Norris. We should have a chance right here to make a move. This is a straight up race between us because he doesn't have to pit anymore as well, and we're going to look to the right hand side and breeze past Lando Norris there and move into the runner-up position here. Now, what a second run we've had. The first run we just never had enough pace to make any passes here. Daniel Ricciardo, well, he had already made his second and final pit stop, and he was still 5 seconds ahead when he came out, so I already knew it was game over in terms of running down Daniel Ricciardo and having a chance to win this Portuguese GP, but nonetheless, this is still going to be a great performance if we can hang on over Lando Norris for a runner-up second place finish here. Now, as we come through to lap 30, Callum Ilott and the Audi getting out of the way right there to let myself and Norris race. It's Lando not letting me get away here, but we would be able to comfortably just kind of control this second position. We cut straight through to the final lap here in Portimao. Daniel Ricciardo has been unbelievable, and look at the gap now, 17 seconds about here as we came through to start this final lap. Lights out fast the Australian has been so far this season in Bahrain, Imola, and now he brings the heat here into Portimao as well. Nobody could stop Daniel Ricciardo here today, unfortunately. Not even myself, not even the talents of Max Verstappen, Lando Norris, and Daniel Ricciardo sure enough would come through to win the Portuguese GP. If it wasn't for his retirement in Imola, he easily would have gone 3 for 3 to start the season, but we come through the final few corners myself, 4.5 to 0.5 of a second, just about ahead of Lando Norris. He closes in at the end, but it's not going to be enough. We come home second place here in Portimao, so overall very happy with the second place finish. We started 5th, lost some ground on the start, and we had a tough time with the pace, but we managed to still get a runner-up finish out of it here now as Antonio Giovinazzi for the Aston Martin gets driver of the day. Let's head to the podium.
It's a performance that our Portuguese Grand Prix winners can be justifiably proud of, and I'm sure there'll be celebrations tonight. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
I feel like consistency was probably the key today. There's being quick, and then there's being quick lap after lap after lap. If you can do that, you can capitalise on other people's errors without making many of your own. And that's an approach that can push you a long way up the field.
And look at that, they're making their way out onto the podium now. Great race from the McLaren team, and I'm really happy to see them there on the top step of the podium.
There you see our podium celebration there. Love those Vodafone fire suits, by the way, here now, as you see the finishing order. And of course, we're going to get a quick points update and see what the situation is as Ricciardo continues to increase his points lead here now, as he is 9 points ahead of myself. Norris a little bit further back. Verstappen loses some ground due to that spin after contact with the British driver of George Russell in the Alpine. And then we actually have a 25-point lead as McLaren over Red Bull in the Constructors, 32 points over AlphaTauri. And Mercedes continues to struggle. What does Mercedes need to do? Well, we know what they need to do. They need to make some big upgrades heading into the Monaco GP in the next episode. Now, the Monaco GP, I would expect it to favor the Red Bull car quite heavily. So this could be Verstappen's opportunity, Norris's opportunity to get right back towards the top of this championship battle here now. But we'll have to wait and, of course, see what happens. Qualifying going to be so important and whatnot, and I'm very excited for that one. That was, by the way, our 9th podium finish. So if we can go get the podium in Monaco, we will have 10 career podiums there, as we're going to make one quick major upgrade as well in the fuel injection system. But other than that, that does it for me. If you guys enjoyed, you know what to do. In the next one, we head to Monaco. Thank you all for taking the time out of your day for watching this episode, and I'll see you guys in the next one in the Monaco GP. Have a great day, everybody.